Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final acting category breakdown, supporting actor. We are now post-SAG nominations, pre-BAFTA nominations, just to get a sense. This will come out before BAFTA nominations anyways. But yeah, supporting actor, an interesting race for sure this year. Just like we talked about in supporting actress, SAG threw a few different wrenches in here. I think the interesting part is outside of who is obviously going to win. I think there's going to be a sweep here, but those other spots and who gets those, I think remains to be an interesting race. Any thoughts, Anthony, on the overall race before we break down each contender?
I mean, I've been told this is a sweeping category. Like, I just don't.
I don't get it in the performance. I don't think either of us do, but it just seems like it's going to happen.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I think it's definitely interesting who's going to end up sneaking in. I think with supporting actress at SAG, it was a bigger question mark with like, oh my God, what does this mean? I think this category is like I think we know who are going to be the ones that the Oscars omit from the SAG lineup. I think it's a little bit more straightforward.
Yeah, I agree. Let's start off with who we were just talking about. Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain.
I mean, she was the coolest. I've just been in a real funk, I guess, since she died.
He plays Benji, the chaotic cousin to Eisenberg's David, who can be a real pain, but also has a real pain inside of him, as you can tell throughout the film. There really aren't any cons to him. He's sweeping. He's a beloved actor who is in a beloved show. He's playing an emotional character who I think lots of people can resonate with. I think that's why he's doing so well. The industry reactions, like just watching it at these awards shows, like all the people go up to him, like Nicole Kidman, who had never met him, I saw go up to him and like praised him about his performance. So clearly the industry is connecting with his performance as well. And there's just as we'll talk about, no strong competitor up against him. Like we'll talk about Guy Pearce. We thought maybe there was a strong competitor there, but that film and his performance have been underperforming recently, missing SAG. So I think the only thing going against Culkin is A Real Pain might not be in Best Picture, which we've talked about. Mm-hmm. The last person who won supporting actor without their film being in Best Picture was Christopher Plummer. And that was, I think, a lot of going in Christopher Plummer's favor was the fact that he's Christopher Plummer and he hadn't had an Oscar yet. And this was kind of his moment, which Culkin doesn't really have. But I think there's also a world where I think one of Sing Sing or Nickel Boys drop out and Real Pain is in Best Picture, and that solves the entire issue. So I feel, I think that's what's going to happen. And I believe in Searchlight more than I do either of those other studios in particular at getting a film in Best Picture. So yeah, I just think he's going to sweep. Why do you think he is sweeping? Is it just a lack of competition? Or is there something about the performance?
Well, I think people love him. I think this is his victory lap for Succession. He still has goodwill from being on the best television show of the last 10 years. And there's no competition at all. This is the most barren. I mean, the fact that Denzel Washington was being taken seriously in this category up until SAG, like with all due respect to one of the greats, like, come on. This is and I'll speak from a movie I didn't like, Gladiator 2, to a movie I love. The fact that Jonathan Bailey got in for one song
is also insane.
Is insane. So I just think he is benefiting from being, I think, a dramatic performance. It's a comedic performance. Like, it has a wealth of emotions. It has some weight to it. I also think that it sticks out from the other acting contenders, not only in the category, but among the other winners and nominees of the other ones. Like, what Kieran Culkin does well is that he constantly keeps you on your toes. And I think we always talk about surprise in performances and in movies is what wins you awards. And he is definitely a surprising actor. So yeah, I think there's a lot of goodwill for him. And he's just so lovable. I mean, every speech he gives is just so wonderful. So yeah, even though I wasn't big on this movie, I didn't love it like many people have. And I'm struggling to understand how it's such a runaway. But yeah, I mean, I just think this is what's going to happen. At this point, I think Guy Pearce has proven to be in too divisive of character, too polarizing a film. At least his portion of it. And the only person I think that really might be able to surmount a win is maybe Ed Norton, because I think it's a more expected. It's going to be in a bigger contender overall. So I've given you two entries. Are they two people that we're going to talk about next?
Well, I also just do wonder, do you think how much of the industry has actually watched Succession? Because I think for lots of people who have seen Succession, it's a similar-ish performance. I know it's a different character, but I do think it is similar to like the Kieran Culkin shtick.
I don't know,
but I do wonder if it's more surprising to them because they're not as familiar with this shtick because they didn't watch Succession.
I think it works in his favor both ways. If you have not watched
Yeah.
Succession, you are taken aback by, oh, who is this? And if you have watched Succession, you love him from Succession, and that love will carry over.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a world where somebody loves Succession, except me apparently. Somebody who
And
loves
me. Yeah.
but it's different when you're in the industry. I feel I don't get the sense that there's going to be enough people who love Succession and loved him on Succession, and then feel like, oh, this isn't as great because they're comparing him to Roman. So I just don't see that happening.
They don't think about it as much as we do. No.
I just think, well, yeah, that is definitely true.
Yeah.
Given that you made me start doing these videos in freaking March or April
Yep.
last year.
2026 Oscar predictions coming soon.
Oh no.
I'm joking.
But I think that ultimately, like he just, I think also he's the most, well, he's a lead too. We always have to mention that.
Oh, he's even crazier. Well, they're both crazy, but him and Saldana's getting so much attention for being a lead and supporting. He should be getting just as much because the film starts and ends with Culkin.
Yeah, but I also think that he benefits from just. I just think that a lot of these performances, I think this is why Ariana Grande is doing well too. Is like they're fun, like they're lively, and like. And they're not depressing performances or like serious performances. Like I think there's an affability to him that I think people are responding to as well, both on and off camera.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about who you said is his biggest competitor here now, Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown.
The breeze will cease to be breathing, like the stillness in the wind, for the hurricane begins. The hour that the ship comes in.
Plays Pete Seeger. He's a fellow folk singer and mentor to Bob Dylan. Going in his favor, he plays a real life person, as we'll talk about with A Complete Unknown. That always helps. It's a likable character. He has a warm presence throughout most of the film. And the industry, I think, in a way, is kind of maybe missing Norton a little bit. He hasn't been in the awards conversation for a while. I do think even though maybe some... Yeah, not since Birdman, but I do think most of the industry still has a reverence for him, and they're happy to see him back in the conversation again. So
I think they respect.
He's a lock for a nomination.
Yeah, they respect his craft, and I think he shows he shows a warmness here that I think people were happy to see. And he does his own singing that always helps.
Yeah,
I think if Adrian Brody starts to run away with Best Actor, this could be where A Complete Unknown is able to tap into a win. So that's why, like, I feel like in a world where A Complete Unknown is definitely going to do better than A Real Pain, and Edward Norton has, been around longer than Kieran Culkin, going back to 25th Hour, and he's a popular actor. Like, I think people forget that about him, despite him turning down the Hulk after that first movie. Like, he's known, and so I think there's a world where he's able to build some quiet momentum, and that's why I think I have him at a very strong number 2 at this point.
Yeah, I think he's strong for a nomination, but I just don't think there's enough there with the performance right now for me to say that he would win. But who knows? The Culkin has a lot more to do because he's a lead. So that's that. Let's talk about recent contender for, I felt pretty good about him at potentially getting nominated until he missed SAG, which I think kind of kills his chances. Denzel Washington in Gladiator 2.
Crowd loves blood, and they love those who love blood as much as they do. And you, my friend, rage pours out of you like milk from a horse tit.
Plays Macrinus, a former gladiator who earned his freedom and became a power broker and supplier to the most powerful people in Rome. Going in his favor, he is Denzel Washington. That always helps. That's pretty much it. He's Denzel. That's all you need. He gets in for even weak films like he got in for Roman J. Israel.
But he got the SAG nom for Roman J. Israel.
No, exactly. The SAG nomination kills him.
More anti-James Franco than pro-Denzel Washington.
That's fair. Yeah, he was the alternative. But I think really the pros is just he's Denzel, and it is a performance that works for a lot of people. It's a fun performance, like we were talking about with Kieran Culkin. But I do think Gladiator 2 underperforming overall. Being considered pretty a middling film and missing SAG, I do kind of just think is the death knell for him. Like, if he can't get SAG, he's not going to get his first BAFTA nomination for Gladiator 2. I'm sorry. Then he just has what?
Never What?
Never been nominated. No.
What? You tell me the 2 times that he's won an Oscar, he
wasn't nominated. Nope. He has never been nominated.
He wasn't nominated for Fences?
Nope.
Are you?
I'm positive this is like a crazy thing within the industry and it displays the tendency of BAFTA voters when it comes to certain skin complexions, who they tend to go for and don't. The fact that Denzel Washington, 2-time Oscar winner, doesn't have any BAFTA nominations, and he won't get it for Gladiator 2. So yeah, I think SAG is his strongest ground, and he missed there. So at that point, and the film overall just being weak, I think you go for someone else who's in a stronger film. So yeah,
Viola Davis wins the BAFTA for Fences, and he's not nominated.
Yeah, they got something against him.
Okay.
So do you think he'll get his first BAFTA nomination for Gladiator 2? How fitting.
Yeah. I just never saw. I never understood once the movie was seen why people can. I just think it's Ridley Scott just packages movies that look like Oscar contenders, but they're not. And I just don't think this will be either.
I can't keep falling for it. Yeah, I had so much faith in this in Denzel, and then you're right. Once I saw it, I liked his performance, but I wasn't like, this is Oscar-worthy stuff here. He carried the entire film, so that does help him. But I just think
he is also another lead in supporting.
Kind of, not as bad as the other ones, but yeah, he does have a lot of screen time.
He gets more dialogue scenes than I think Paul Mescal does. Paul Mescal is stuck in an action scene for most of his part.
I think you could argue this next person is a co-lead in a way. Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing.
You don't know who you are, what you about, bro. What? You don't get to tell me what I need in prison. You don't get to do that. And don't bring me in those dark corners no more.
He plays Divine Eye, a tough, standoffish inmate who finds a surprising calling through theater and acting in the Sing Sing program. This is a sad one for me. I was really rooting for him. I really thought he could win early on in the season if Sing Sing was actually a big contender. I feel like there's a narrative here for him, kind of like similar to a Troy Kotzer, that could carry him to a win. He's great in the film. I think it's a performance actors would really like and connect to. But the issue is A24 absolutely fumbled this film. It's underseen. It's hitting no precursors. No one has seen it.
It's not their priority anymore.
No.
Yeah, Jack is becoming the champion of the lost causes here on Oscar Film Podcast.
I am. We have to at least talk about him because
I think he could pop in the same way that Paul Raci really didn't have a lot of the precursors and then was able to pop in but I think Sound of Metal was faring
in Best Picture.
Then Sing Sing I think will be in Best Picture. I think that has a better chance than Nickel Boys, and I don't
agree with that.
But I think you're gonna have to.
Nope, it missed SAG Ensemble. That's definitely.
It's not like Nickel Boys got SAG Ensemble, and at least
but it wouldn't.
Is getting nominated, so Sing Sing will have a presence.
That has more to do with Coleman Domingo than
that's true.
Sing Sing. I think
2 years in a row where he has. Oh wait, was there a Rustin song?
It was in contention, but
one of those like stand up for something freedom.
There was one of those. It just didn't get nominated.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's he could, but I think it's more and more unlikely. I also think because Coleman is that movie for me at least. Like I came away like just blown away by Coleman. And I think that it's like I struggle to remember like what was Clarence Macklin's scene, where like Coleman I can remember, like it's off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's a scene. Yeah, for sure.
I think it might be that the newer contenders are clouding the remembrance of the greatness of Clarence Macklin. I just think they've been able to get more mileage out of his story and how it was represented.
They should have. A24 absolutely fumbled this. It's insane. I think in a different reality where they didn't pick up Brutalist and they actually truly campaigned for this super hard, this could be a front runner for Best Picture when it just has that feel of winning.
Screenplay, actor, supporting actor, picture. It could have gone all the way if they didn't release it over the freaking summer. I don't know. That was the weirdest.
And now they're re-releasing it post nominations. Like you release it before Oscar nominations, not after, because you're not going to get any. So whatever. You'll get 2, but yeah. Another performance from a relatively unknown actor. Let's talk about Yuri Borisov in Anora. He plays Igor, a Russian henchman who is hired to restrain Anora and keep her around. I was doubting this at first, honestly. I think maybe both of us were, because he wasn't either of our supporting actor standouts in the film, and we just felt like there were so many good performances in that film that it would be hard for people to like all center around the same one and agree. But it seems like most people have. So it seems like we were just wrong about our favorites. So it seems
it just because I mean, listen, they're all great. I mean, talk about a great
ensemble. They are, yeah.
But like, and I'm not against. I think again, because what we're talking about is I think at least I really liked Mark Eidelstein, and I felt like how he starts the movie with Mikey Madison, and then when he comes back, how he ends the film is so integral to that movie working, and also like giving us like his performance being so good explains the family relationship when they come in. Like there was just so many layers that I feel like people weren't acknowledging. But it's not like I thought the best acted scene of the year might be like him and Yuri, him and Mikey at the end of the movie. So like he was fantastic. I always wanted both of them to get nominated. I think the reason why we just showed a little hesitance towards this is because this is so like brilliance on their behalf because it means they were paying attention to the movie. He's not a star. He's a character actor. Like this is fantastic that he's in contention, and I think he's a lock to get in. That SAG nom is crazy.
Hitting SAG locked him in. Yeah. The fact that he gets in a guild that goes for, as we see with the other nominations, stars performances and like established names. The fact that he's able to get in that SAG, I don't think anyone was, even people who like think he's a huge, like people who thought he was a lock for the Oscar before SAG didn't think he was going to get SAG. So getting SAG, I think, locks him in there. He's in a super strong top tier Best Picture contender, and I think he does manage to be a surprise in the film. By the way, you the type of character you think he is when you first are introduced to him, and the way he develops throughout the film, I do think is one of the best parts of the film.
Surprise. How many times can
surprise is so important.
Gets you nominations and wins.
Agreed. And for it also to be such a reserved performance, especially compared to everyone else in the film, is huge. I do think that makes him stand out, though. The fact that everyone else is huge, and he's,
other than Anora, he's the most likable character too.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I did love Kieran Culkin. I think he's likable, but maybe not like in a likable character way. He's just very funny. But yeah, great ensemble. And I think we both agree he's looking very solid for a nomination. Let's talk about someone, speaking of SAG Awards, who was a little bit of a surprise there. Jonathan Bailey in Wicked.
Excuse me, there is no pretense here. I happen to be genuinely self-absorbed and deeply shallow.
Plays Fiyero, the suave romantic love interest for both Elphaba and Glinda. I don't think the pros, I think he's just going to be a sole SAG nominee. That doesn't happen anywhere else. I think it's just solely the fact that SAG loved Wicked. Obviously, the fact that he was able to coattail in there. I don't think he gets any other nominations. He just feels there's just not enough there. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like something SAG could do. I wasn't that surprised.
We had him at like number 7.
I was surprised. I wasn't that shocked. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's one song. And of that one song, it's one 3-minute part of the 21 minutes that is Dancing Through Life. Once he slid on that book, I guess he slid right into a SAG nomination. Listen, I also think SAG, he does well there because, I mean, he was also nominated for the ensemble of Bridgerton. This is a television group as well, and so they knew of him before this.
Fellow Travelers also,
I think this is going to happen at SAG. He has a 1% chance maybe if Wicked overperforms in Oscar nominations because they have the crafts and therefore it's on their mind more than some of these other people. And like, listen, he's exactly what the movie asks him to be. He is tremendous. He's a lot of fun, but there's not a lot here. Like in a world where Mike Face doesn't get nominated for West Side Story, you cannot tell me that then Jonathan Bailey is going to get nominated for this.
That's one of the most, I don't want to be reminded of
Mike Face should have won.
Yeah, he should have swept the entire season. So a tragedy there. But yeah, I think I agree. SAG only. Congrats on your SAG nomination. Who knows? Maybe you'll get in for Wicked Part 2 or Jurassic World next year. Maybe. Who knows?
I don't think that's going to happen. But he's going to have a nice, wonderful career. Universal is keeping care of him.
They are for sure. I
want him to be in the running for Bond. That's my dream for Jonathan Bailey.
Oh, I think I can see that.
Good, interesting, because you do not pick a Daniel Craig sort of like you got to pick a completely different vibe.
Switch it up.
It'd be an interesting vibe. I want him.
I've never thought of that. That is a good pick. And then maybe he'll have his queer eventually. Well, he's already had plenty of queers. Never mind.
I was like, what are you talking? What was Fellow Travelers? If not,
if not his queer in TV form. Yeah. Speaking of TV, let's talk about our fellow Succession boy here, Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice.
Now, the government has failed to spell out one single fact concerning alleged discriminatory practices against blacks by the Trumps. I motion to have this case dismissed on summary judgment.
He plays a corrupt lawyer and political fixer who takes a young Donald Trump under his wing. This is I don't know if you watched our set. We didn't do it when we were talking about it, but I made a little addendum on our SAG predictions video where I was like, Jeremy Strong just makes sense. He fits all the previous things that SAG has done. I just think that there's a lot of love for him within the industry as a performer, especially from Succession. He just gave such a great performance in that show. He's an Emmy-winning actor, as we're talking about Kieran Culkin on a beloved show. And it's a showy performance. He is playing a real-life person, but it's like a really showy performance. It's one of my favorite supporting performances of the year. I think he's great in it. And once again, I think he's a surprise in it because it's very different from his role as Kendall Roy, unlike Kieran Culkin, in my opinion. And I think there's more. I think there's more going on here, and you follow him through a longer period of
businessman
time.
walking in a suit, acting like he knows it all until the end of the movie, crying. That's very Kendall coded.
I think there's a lot more confidence in him, but yeah, I can see the similarities for sure. But I do think you follow him through a longer period of time, and you see the way his relationship with Stan's Donald Trump develops, and the way he is at the start of the film versus the end. I think there's just a lot going on there.
He's really the captain of the beginning of the film, which I think helps. He's a force at the beginning, and then he has that great scene near the end. I do think though that he's done well with groups that also vote for television. That could be helping him. We'll see. Do you see a world where, because I don't know who your 5 is in Best Actor, but I still worry that Sebastian Stan splits the vote between them. And so if that happens,
he can get in without him.
You think Jeremy Strong could be?
Well, I think he'll get Golden Globe, SAG, and BAFTA. And at that point, you hit everything besides Critics' Choice. Why wouldn't I put him in there?
If he gets BAFTA, I'll feel better about him. Right now, he's on the.
When it comes to BAFTA, they put The Apprentice in their top 10 long list for picture, which I think just shows that they like that film. So I feel good about both of them getting nominated at BAFTA.
No, you're right. So, I think right now he's probably in my top 5. Because I also think it's you know, Kieran Culkin, Borisov. Like you have a lot. Like we need some devils in this category. We need some juicy, antagonists. And so I think he embodies that range that we're looking for. Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, let's talk about our final contender, a fellow, not super likable character. Let's talk about Guy Pearce in The Brutalist.
From bite the hand of those who fed them, until someone mercifully puts them down.
He plays Harrison Lee Van Buren, a wealthy industrialist who becomes a very important client for Laszlo Toth. That's all I'll say. I don't want to spoil stuff. Most people haven't seen this film. It's a great performance. It's, I think, once again, we keep talking about it, surprise. I do think there's a surprise factor for Guy Pearce here as well. Never been Oscar nominated, but I do think there's lots of love for him within the industry. And it's kind of like a character actor-y kind of turn with his performance here. It's a very specific type of person. I don't know. I feel even though he missed SAG, it kind of made sense to me that he would miss SAG because they're not high on the Brutalist overall. I do think he'll hit Golden Globe. He's Critics' Choice and then BAFTA, and that's I think enough to pretty much lock him in for the Oscar.
I think that he is playing a very complex character that I think people will give him credit for maneuvering around. He has the Sam Rockwell narrative of a character actor who's finally getting their due. I think The Brutalist is going to be stronger with the Academy than it was with SAG. Yeah, I think that he's I don't put much stock in the SAG omission. I think he's pretty much going to be in there. I do think my feelings that he could be a potential winner are shrinking. He would have to win BAFTA, but first he has to get nominated. So, but
he'll definitely be nominated
for me to be like, oh, maybe he's got a chance. So we'll see.
And that could happen. A Real Pain didn't do great at the BAFTA long lists, so it's possible. But I don't know. I feel like The Brutalist is not going to be like this huge 11, 12 nomination film that I think lots of people think it will be.
Yeah, but it could get like 8. It could do very well.
It'll still do good, but I don't think it's going to, like lots of people think it might be like this year's Oppenheimer in a way, like where it's just like so huge it can't be stopped. It's like the monumental cinematic achievement.
I think those people are the ones who don't want to admit that Emilia Perez is going to be the most nominated movie.
Yes, it is by far in a way. I do think that's just, you can lock that in. It will be. So yeah. Without further ado, we've talked about all the contenders here. No offense to the Conclave boys. Tucci might hit BAFTA, but none of them are happening in my opinion. So let's talk about it. Our predicted 5 here. This is pretty easy to me, in my opinion. Kieran Culkin up top. I guess I would do Edward. No, I'm still going to keep Guy Pearce at number 2 because I feel like that's more likely to win. Then I'll do Norton. Then Yura Borisov, I think, is just locked in for the nomination. And then Jeremy Strong just makes sense to come along as well.
So, yeah, I agree with your 5. I just would put because right now we're just predicting who's going to like get nominated. So like
Yeah.
Guy Pearce might be 2 once he gets in, but for the nomination, I think he's at 4. I think Norton and Borisov
Okay.
are likely
Yeah, that's fair.
nominees at this point, and then I agree with you, strong at 5. So yeah, I think it's this is the most, I think, malleable, like free floating forming category that we've had. It's like, I guess it's these 5. Like there is, I feel like I don't know. This one just feels like it's just falling slowly into place. Where all the other
But this
ones,
5
like,
feels like
boxing match.
good.
Boom,
Oh, yeah.
Fernando Torres. Boom, Marion John Baptiste. And these
Yeah,
are all-
exactly.
Another 5.
Yeah. Everyone else is just slowly falling out of contention. Like this 5 just feels good to me. I don't even know who else I would put in. I don't know who my number 6 would be. Like Denzel, I guess. But I
Yeah.
just feel like that SAG miss was too much, too detrimental to him.
Bizarre.
So it is weird. It is weird for sure. But it's a weird category overall. As we said at the start, I think it will be a sweep that maybe we don't agree with in the most. But yeah, those are our predictions for supporting actor. Do you agree with those 5? If you got something else, please comment below. I'd be interested to see what else you've got predicted in this category. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.